This is such an amazing camera, but I probably don't have to tell you because you bought one already, most likely, and that's why you're here, is you want to figure out some fun settings. Feel free to use the chapter breaks below to jump around as necessary, but let's jump right in. Okay, let's start with sharing what version I'm using for reference. Let's go to the menu. I'm going to call this the wrench. We're going to go to the 5th icon. Go all the way down to firmware version. You can see I'm version 2.3 and version 1.0. First step, set your camera to movie mode. Now let's change our video file formats. So we're going to start all the way on the top. So we're going to go M for manual. We don't want our exposure to have a mind of its own. Photo style, we're going to talk about later. Select Vlog. Gain operation. Now I choose, and I suggest you use angle/ISO. This will help us use the 180-degree rule, which will make our life easier when we change our frame rates. But with this option, you just set the angle and then don't touch it, which is great. Now let's go to image format 1. We're going to go image area full for full frame. Before we go to recording format, let's go to format. So MP4 will give you less quality, MOV will give you higher quality. So whatever you select there will change what options you have here. So if you go to the very top, you'll now see you have C4K, Cinema 4K available. Where if we go back and we pick MP4 and select again, you do not have Cinema 4K. So MOV, and I don't really use C4K very much. It changes at the 17.9, so you do get more pixels, 4096 times 2160, but I'm usually filming with that one. So 3840 by 2160. 16:9 just makes my edits a lot easier. And if you have an external recorder, you can actually film 5.9K with this camera. Yes, this is the same sensor from the bigger, much more expensive brother, the S1, so you can film in 5.9K. What? I will do a separate video using the external recorder, recording in 5.9K. Let's set the focus peaking values, then turn it on so it can help us keep our subject in focus while filming. This is super helpful when filming in manual. So now we're going to go back to the camera. We're going to go 5th icon down where it says focus. Now instead of just going on, we're going to go to set first. So we're going to set our options, and I've already got a set, so +2 and whatever color you want. We can use a blue. So now when you select it on, your focus peaking will work. And I'm going to switch to manual mode, which I think I am already. So you can see it starts to change. Those little lines right there on the side is helping you see that you're in focus, which just makes it super easy. Since we're still on the camera icon, let's adjust the sound settings. So the first one, I like to see the display. So that's the little bars here on the left. I love to see the levels on the monitor. It helps me make sure that the mics are set up correctly, especially if I can't find headphones to quickly test the inputs. Now let's dial down the audio since most mics are a little hot. So I have it set for -12. Now let's turn on constant preview. I'm going to go to the gear icon now. So for constant preview, we are 4th icon, page 1. And this is for photo, but when you buy your camera, this is set to off. Turn it on. It'll just make your life easier. Now let's adjust the ISO settings. Still in the gear. Let's go to the first icon, ISO increments, we're going to change to 1/3. I think default is 1. Then we're going to turn extended ISO on. And what this does, I'll show you with it off really quick. So you can see 640 is the lowest it'll go, which is normal for Vlog. So if I turn on extended ISO, now it goes to 500 and you see a little L, 400, 320, and then it jumps back up to 640 on IDO. Does not change the top, so 5120 is still the top. Now let's set the back dial to control ISO to enable us to quickly adjust any of our typical camera functions by just rotating a dial. So the third icon, dial set. I'm just going to use set 5. I'm not going to go through all the options, but you can see shutter speed is now there on the back. Now we're going to change the control dial assignment, which is this back dial, to ISO. Now what this does is it enables you to change everything in manual mode all at once, which is fantastic. So now I can change ISO with this one, I can change shutter speed with this one on the back, and on the very front I can change the aperture. Next, let's turn on the Luminance spot meter. Going to go to the fourth icon, page 3. So there's pages on the top here. And we're just going to make sure that's on. The Luminance spot meter gives you this little guy. So you'll see how many stops. Since I'm in Vlog, it's going to give me stops. If I'm still within the dynamic range of the camera. So from the brightest brights, or brightest whites, +4. It goes +6.2 to -8 in Vlog. This is such a powerful option in this camera. Make sure to watch the link in the description below from Panasonic to see how this amazing feature works. It'll be worth the time as it will shortcut setup and show how to properly use a gray card. We won't need to turn on the waveform or vector scope because they will now easily be accessible from our last option, which is one of my favorites. Okay, I mentioned that I would talk a little more about Vlog earlier. Vlog is important because it helps you capture the most dynamic range for this camera and video. Dynamic range is how much light you can see from the brightest to the darkest in the frame. The S5 has approximately 12.5 stops of usable dynamic range per Gerald Undone's review, which is about 1 full stop over than even the Cine 2 recording mode, which is still a good one. The link to his full review is in the description below. One of the annoyances in filming a log profile is that it looks flat. So let's fix it so we don't have to look at that flat looking profile anymore. Yes, the S5 allows you to add LUTs to your displays in camera, which is amazing. This will make our images look great while we film. So the typical order is to turn on Vlog, then select your LUT, then turn that LUT on. Vlog is already selected, so now let's select a LUT. So now we're on the gear, go 5 down. We're going to go to Vlog Assist. And you have both things to select your LUT and to turn them on in here. So you can see we have some other LUTs spots available. I haven't loaded anything else. This is what comes factory, it's Vlog. So we're just going to use Rec 709. And we're going to turn it on the monitor. So that means this is Rec 709. So if we look back at it again, turn it off, look how much more flat it is. Now I've got some glare on the card, so this doesn't affect how your Vlog file is being recorded, just how it's being displayed on your back monitor. Now let's turn on the red record frame. This helps us more easily see when we're recording video. So all the way at the bottom here. I'm going to turn it off just so you can see what it looks like without it. So I'm going to hit record, and you get this one little light down here on the bottom left. I'm going to turn it off again. Now we're going to turn on the frame and look how much better this looks. Lights up the entire square. Now let's set our monitor backlight. This is a preference for how bright or dark you might want it, but I keep mine at 0 so it isn't shifting automatically, making me do a double take the camera, thinking my shots may be brighter or darker. I just have it on 0. It comes factory as auto, but I just put it on 0. Now let's turn off the beeps. And basically I just turn this one off. Okay, now one of my absolute favorite options, the touch tabs. I kept seeing people displaying the touch tabs on their monitor and was thinking to myself, where in the world is that option? It took me a short while to find it in the manual. So we'll go to the gear. Touch settings, we're on page 1. Touch tab. I'm going to turn it off just so you can see what it normally looks like. So this is how it's clean. Touch tabs are on the right here. So now let's turn them on. And now all of a sudden you have access to your waveform, your luminance spot meter, your in-body stabilization. You can see the icon changing up there, your histogram, and even your Wi-Fi. Then your next one, you get focus peaking. You can see the P, which is that color that we were talking about earlier. So see how its colors are showing? And this I won't be using, but that's a stylized. It gives you all the options for your styles. So right now it's set on mini. But we're going to turn it off. That's on retro. We want vlog. And then it gives you access to some of your other options here. Just click the top to go back. Shutter speed, ISO, which we put all these on the dial, so we don't really need access to this. This is kind of nice. You can change your dB too. But either way, all of these options are now magically available, and it just speeds everything up. So between the Q menu, the touch tabs, and the 3 dials, I can get to anything I want in less than 2 button clicks. I'm not going to go over the Q menu, but make sure to customize your menu for the items you want access to most often. Now let's save all of your hard work to a custom mode so you don't have to do any of this over again. Save custom mode. So I'm going to put this in 2. Bonk. And now, if you go to Custom 2 on the top, all of those settings are going to automatically load. Okay, I have 2 quick bonuses to this setup tutorial. I'm going to introduce you to ACES for color grading to help you with your vlog. Then I'm going to share what right autofocus mode works for video. The autofocus for camera mode is perfect as is. If I convince you to use vlog, then I want to help you carry the rest of the way to your video editing, quickly showing you how to use ACES and Davinci Resolve using the CCT conversion. I'm using Davinci Resolve, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to get your shots into a workable space before you start color correction, then color grading. I kept trying to dial in each shot, and then I realized I was working way too hard, and I want to help you avoid that. Adding ACES is super easy. So all you do is you make sure, so we're in the color tab. So if you're in your edit tab, we're going to go to color. I'll show you a really quick trick in Lightbox. There's all these different clips from different videos. So these are all Blackmagic except for this one. That one is stock footage. And what I did was I added them into groups. So I have 3 groups. If you go in here, you'll see I have a Vlog, 6K, and Canon. This is the Canon M50 footage. I'm not using a flat profile. There is one you can use, but I'm not using it. This is all 6K, so Blackmagic 6K is filming the Lumix. And then this is all Lumix, except for this guy. So you'll see, well, doesn't matter. Anyways, you can really easy grab a bunch, assign them to groups, and then when you get out of Lightbox and you come back in here and you look up top, oh, look at me, I have a pre-clip now. So if we go to the one I did not assign anything to, you only see 2 clips here, or 2 items, clip and timeline. Timeline's at the very, very end. We can add a corrector. And then you can add your effects on here if you wanted to, but we're not going to do that. So You can assign stuff in timeline, which is at the very, very end, and then you can do things in the clip. So this is all by itself, and this is after your clip. So in front, behind. So moving along, we're going to pick one. Now this is the vlog. We want the pre-clip, so we're going to add aces in the front. And we're going to say, I want Panasonic. Oh, that's ugly. Now we're going to change it into something we can use as an edit. Just remember this one, aces CCT. Okay, still kind of flat. So now we're going to go to post clip. So these are in the middle. This is all in order. Front, middle, next, and then the very end. So I'm going to go post clip. So I'm going to throw aces on this one. And I'm going to say, oh, I just pushed you to CCT. Where are you going? Here it is. CCT. Still looks ugly. And then I'm going to turn it into Rec 709. Bunk. Oh wow, this looks normal. Look at that. So now you can begin when you go into clip and then add your extra nodes and start to do your color grading and color correction. Super easy. Many people think that this camera doesn't have good autofocus. It's not as fast as Canon or Sony for sure, but I disagree that the autofocus isn't as usable for video, and Luco Bono demonstrates it in his video. Make sure to watch his video in the description below. A few quick caveats though. Autofocus will be faster with the native lens. You'll want a strongly lit subject, and make sure you have continuous autofocus turned on and tracking selected. So let's do that now. So I flip this to C. There's a little manual C and S. So now when you press the center, you'll see all these different modes. Tracking is the one we want for this example. You'll see this little box. Okay, we've got a NAND light here. So let's select this. So let's select the NAND light. We're going to move it in a little bit. Focuses. Move away. Move down. Move over. It's not as fast, but it does work. I was using it earlier when I was filming myself, and it worked out great. I love the Panasonic S5. I think it is one of the best deals for the money. A good friend of mine tried to get me to buy a GH5 or a GH6 that just came out, but I'm so glad I didn't and purchased the S5 instead. I don't use my DJI Ronin S as much because the IBIS is so good. It's a full frame camera with the ability to film 6K, 12-bit B-RAW, and it's so portable. I love my Blackmagic 6K Pro for the magic it creates, but the S5's portability and features make it the one I'm reaching for to film a lot of the short films lately. Some of the other projects I'm working on is loading Magic Lantern on an EOS M and a 5D Mark II, and a 7 to 10 minute Stargate fan film. Subscribe if you're a Stargate fan and watch the craziness unfold for that short film. The next video I'm creating this week is how I created my own ZPM for the fan film. If there's anything else you feel like I missed or you want me to cover, then please let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video.